Thanks for the clap. You're really on the clap thing apparently.
You said I feel like that is a very important thing.
It does help quite a bit, but like I said, I can figure it out without it. It's not too bad. Cody's a little traumatized. We're not going to talk about the story again because you just told me for like 10 minutes while I was setting everything up. But Cody saw a crazy little accident on his way here, right by my house, grabbing the stand so we could record stuff for the video. But other than that, the Read Reviews podcast is back. Again, we're late and off schedule. Technical difficulties this time. We scheduled this to come in and record it on Saturday. It's now Tuesday because Cody initially worked nights and I worked during the day, so we couldn't ever do it during the week. So we had to do it on the weekend. We do it over the weekend. The whole situation is fucked. We are spent over 2 hours?
At least 2 hours.
At least 2 hours.
Dicking around with
stuff, trying to figure stuff out, because we don't know what we're doing. This is why we're using this podcast studio. Also, I don't have this stuff. Apparently, these boom mics alone are like $150, Gavin was telling me.
They're nice. They seem nice.
You could get cheaper ones, but like basically what I'm saying is this is probably like a few $1,000s worth of shit, including the tables and chairs and everything that's in here. So we don't know what we're doing. So we tried to fix it and tried to dink around with it for so long. And we learned a lot about it and how to use it a lot more. But we ended up coming to the conclusion that we were just missing a cable. And we were right, because we're here now and now it's working and the cable that we were missing is here. And I'm just glad that we weren't fully dumbasses and we
tried everything.
We did try
everything possible that we at least knew we could try without really messing something up.
Yeah, and I think we figured out almost from the beginning, because I realized that we were missing something, and we could tell that the audio feed wasn't going into the computer. It was recording everything off of the laptop itself here.
Everything sounded weird. Everything was just not exactly as it was the other two times.
Yeah, so we knew something was missing, and we ended up figuring out that it was the cable, or at least we were pretty damn sure that it was, and it turns out it was the cable. So now we're here recording,
which magically reappeared.
It
and
did magically
nobody
reappear.
knows how. It's just magically here. I bet.
That's another thing about doing it at the library, is that everything here, it's downtown. There's some people downtown that like to steal stuff. This laptop is literally chained to the desk with a lock and everything on it. I'm pretty sure that soundboard is too. I don't know if the mics are, but the mics are, because all the cables are clumped into these little cage things down here bottom. Pretty sure they can see it on the video.
It's all hardwired in, so we don't have to mess with it.
So they stole the one fucking thing that you can steal, which is the stupid little dongle that they have to plug the laptop in, and that's what screwed us over. So that's why we're a couple days late. But luckily, Cody happened to change schedules the week that we're back recording this thing. So now I think we can do them during the week, which is a lot easier, because then you just don't have to deal with weekend stuff. You can just do it after work.
Yeah.
So
as long as I don't have to see a dude die on the way.
Yeah.
I think
that's a little tough.
That's better.
I won't send you to grab the stand from my house anymore.
True. That's the only reason why.
Yeah. I stayed at Sydney's house the last couple of nights, and I didn't remember to bring it on Sunday when I went over there. So I was like, well, I need that, because it looked like garbage when we set it up the whole the video last time and everything, and it would have been fine. It would have been fine, but I prefer having it up a little bit higher, and I couldn't get it without seeing the table in the frame. It would have just been
like one episode that sticks out where you're like, we could not get the room working.
The audio would have been fucked, and the camera would have been shitty. Yeah. So I think now, I don't know, we probably won't ever be a set schedule, but doing it on Tuesdays might be kind of perfect. Upload on Wednesdays, I feel like that would probably be a pretty good day. Sundays were cool, but I don't know. I guess it's nice because I have all day to like figure it out. But I think I got it dialed in now. I can upload it a little bit faster, do the quick edits.
When walking in, it was truly, I walked in and sat down and ready to go.
Yeah, I had everything set up. You just had to deal with the motorcycle crash and getting my phone thing.
Divine intervention.
Yeah, that's how it is. So we can get started. I had a couple of things that I wanted to talk about. I already forgot what one of them was.
It'll come back.
This is why I should have wrote it down. But the first thing that I watched and I kind of wanted to talk about, which is old news now at this point, but I finally finished it, is The Boys. Now, you know the show, right?
I do know the show. I'm not as well versed as probably anyone else, but I've seen at least like the first, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 episodes.
Okay, so you have...
Like, I get the premise and, like, the tone and what it's going for, I think. And I've seen clips online of even past stuff where I don't know the storylines. I don't know the characters, but I think I get the world.
So the you have the general gist is what you kind of need is how gruesome and gory and gnarly the show is what you get that in the first episode, which compared to where they're at now, it's literally nothing. But the show's on season 4. I don't know exactly when season 4 finished at this point, but it had to have probably been a month, maybe 2 months ago. And I spent a really long time, or taking a long time to watch it. I got distracted a couple of times, and I had to house sit for my parents for like 10 days, and then I was in Canada for 5 days, and so I just never kind of got back to it. And then I was gonna do it on our last podcast. I think I might have told you this. I don't know if I remember. Anyways, doesn't matter. I was watching them the morning of before we were recording the podcast, and I thought I was going to finish the season 4 and get caught up on the whole show. I was off one episode, and I did not have over an hour to watch the season finale, so I wasn't able to talk about it last time, but now I have finished it, and I want to talk about it's the cliche things everybody's probably heard of, anybody who has ever talked about The Boys, but the show is just so ridiculous and off the walls, and that is kind of what I want to get at here, is that I used to love that and appreciate it for what it is because of how different it was. And how, if you don't know the show's premise is basically superheroes, but as if they were politicians, and basically all of them are evil, horrible, behind the scenes, pervert, pedophile.
Superpowers with human
murder.
Human aspects all around them.
Yeah, with human aspects. There's a character who's basically the Superman named Homelander, who is like the worst human thing you could ever possibly create ever. And it's basically just about nobody's a good guy in the show. Everybody's fucked up. Everybody's got issues. And they're known for their raunchiness and goriness and sexual insanity.
Now you're speaking my language.
I know, yeah, that's real exciting. And that stuff was super fun because it was different and crazy and insane. It's just the show is very like a kind of factor. It's like, oh, what the fuck? There's one episode. If you never watched The Boys, you might want to just look up at least the synopsis or details about this episode, called Herogasm. Basically what it is it's a bunch of people with superpowers fucking each other in this house having a giant orgy. And it is, let's just say there's a guy with a I don't know if he can stretch it or what, but his dick's like 30, 40 feet long and this big around.
Yeah, that's really not.
No, it's not a fuckable dick.
Yeah, that's
it's not a fuckable.
You can't do anything with that.
Yeah. This is going to be a really graphic intro to the first thing that we're talking about here. But another thing that happens in Herogasm, they actually just talked about on Joe Rogan, which is really funny. Listen to Joe talk about this scene that happened in the show, because for somebody that does it, because he had never heard of it, for somebody that has never heard of it or doesn't know the idea of it or anything, this is such a ridiculous scene to be your first scene that you watch. He watched the scene of there's an Ant-Man type guy, so he gets real small, and everybody's gay and bisexual apparently in the show. Yeah. So, anyways, he's walking through a guy's urethra, rubbing the insides of it. They're getting all sexy in there, and then the boys, the kind of main characters that you follow the show, give him a bag of cocaine, and he enlarges inside of the guy.
Nice,
blows him up.
I feel like I've heard about that before from so many people.
You probably have. Anyways, the reason that I bring up those examples are the reason that I'm just kind of getting burnt out with this show. This show is so much all the time, and it's not like Game of Thrones or like the GOAT shows so much all the time where it's just like, oh my God, this is happening, this is building up, they're building and bringing this into that. It's just constant. This guy, there's another guy who is a duplicate man who is in a sauna eating his own asshole while jerking off, and he's made like 8 of himself, and he's just in the sauna. That's what they walk into. That's what happens in season 4. There's a torture dungeon sex scene where they're in a costume and they're like tickling this guy's feet and then rubbing cum on his. It feels like torture. It is torture porn without seeing. I was gonna say without seeing buttholes and dicks, but you do sometimes. It's just the show is so just off the walls ridiculous, and what kind of that stuff was fun in the beginning, and where the show really shines is the politics and like how they organize the characters and how these superheroes talk to each other and battle for power, because even though Homelander, the Superman, can kill everybody and is a superhero god, he still adores and cherishes the love of people, and so that's like kind of his weakness, is that he could just dominate and take over everybody, Superman godlike style, but he cares about what people think about him. And anyways, I already said that. So then just trying to navigate that, and the boys trying to be anti-superhero people, but then they end up recruiting superhero people that try to help kill the bad superhero people, even though everybody's bad. And it's just like, there's a lot to this show. It's actually very deep. But in season 4, still really good. Don't get me wrong. And apparently the audience hates the reviews of this season 2, but apparently it's more like political stuff because it's all like mirrored to modern day politics stuff, like very, very directly.
Riled up real quick.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So there's like a whole January 6th riot of an election, and Homelander's supposed to be the bad guy, that he's supposed to be Trump, and blah, blah, blah. So I think there's a lot of review bombing because of that bullshit, just people getting real mad about politics because the show's always been like that. It's just more egregious in this. But I think this show's just kind of overstaying its welcome. I feel like it needs to be a little bit more condensed because I'm getting burnt out on just watching a dude eating himself out in the sauna and people getting just I don't know. I don't want to explain all the gnarly things.
I think that makes sense because as someone who hasn't really watched the show, all I ever hear about is like everyone's always like, this show is so good, it's so crazy and blah blah blah. But then you sit and tell me all these things, and after a while you're like, God, like how much of the show is like not that, and how much of it is?
It might be half of it.
Damn.
Yeah, it probably not. Yeah, I'm probably just thinking that
but
it is because
the
it
pull.
feels like it.
I mean, that's the pull for your, like you were saying, it reels you in, and like for a while you're like, this is pretty crazy. Like the ideas are wild. I do think that line though is hard to tread, where it's like, okay, what becomes like interesting, intriguing, and just like dick jokes, and just like consistent, like, dude, he came, or he blew up in the dick.
It was cool in the beginning. Cool is a relative word, but it was interesting and engaging in the beginning because they do really unique things with people's superpowers of superheroes that you've seen in movies, and then like, oh, okay, they do all these sorts of fucked up stuff. There's a merman superhero who is in love with fish and stuff, and so you can imagine where that goes. He has a relationship with an octopus, and he's fucking all these fish and stuff. It's a whole thing. So it's just stuff like that, and I already think that probably the sweet spot for most great shows is like 4 to 6 seasons, maybe. I feel like if you can wrap it up within that time frame, it doesn't go too long, it's not too short, you get enough time to tell your story, like the Breaking Bad's, the Better Call Saul, although Better Call Saul was 7, wasn't it?
No, 6.
It was 6,
and then Breaking Bad's 5.
5, yeah. Those are just the first ones that come to mind that really don't overstay their welcome. And
Succession was 4 seasons.
Yeah,
it's a banger.
That's another one. And I just feel like with this show, with how draining it is, with just how gnarly it is, you can't even stretch it out as long as the ideal stretch for shows to me, because it's just so much. And I'm like, okay, I want the politics to wrap up. I'm tired of just seeing people doing the unique sexual things and the unique ways to blow each other up and how horrible all these people are. And I kind of wanted to wrap up. That being said, with all my negative stuff kind of out of the way, this show is still awesome. I'm still so involved in the politics and how they're going to go about creating the story and the things that they introduce in it. I really love. Great news. I think this is confirmed that the next season is the last season.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty excited going that. Keep it nice and concise. Don't draw it out too much. The show's still really, really good.
5's a good number.
Yeah, I think especially for this show. I don't want this show stretched out to the 6 or 7. Definitely not the 8, 9.
No,
10. It would be
8, 9, 10 is where I do, like, Game of Thrones was the only one who had me hooked in already to watch through. But most shows, if they're like, oh, it's like 9 to 10 seasons, I'm like, oh, it's hard to commit to that.
I know with everything that happened with Game of Thrones, it's seasons 7 and 8 are ass compared to the rest of the show. They're still good, I would say. But that is a show I would have watched for 10 seasons. Because that show is so good, and for what that show is.
I would have too, because the problem was they rushed it, and so having given more time, I think it would be better. Yeah. And I'd say one of the few, because the plot lines at least were so convincing, and like I was already bought in completely to like every single plot line and character. So that's easy. Yeah. So I'm excited and ready for the show to end. By the way, another thing that I forgot to bring up, because I just said like 4 nonsense words right there. But one of the things I forgot to bring up was that this show also has a spin-off show called Gen V, which I think has 2 seasons. The show also has an animated show that has 1 whole season. The Boys?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
I think The Boys might be anthology. I'm not 100% sure, but if it's canon and in universe, that's already just like, oh god, that's a lot. Gen V is in canon in universe, and there's 1 or 2 seasons.
What's that called? Gen V?
Gen V. So easy way to It's kind of spoilers. I don't know. Whatever. I guess it doesn't matter for you, but I just think about if any people.
This has been spoilers since the moment you started talking.
That's right. I've said, yeah. Well, all those things are more general things though that you get from the beginning, other than like the sex things that happen.
Yeah, I guess depends on who you're talking to, and if you're gonna be like, oh man, you spoiled the dude blowing up in the Dixie.
Yeah, I know. Anyways, Compound V is what gives the people superheroes in the show. So there's a show called Gen V for Generation V. And so it's like younger people doing. I haven't watched it, so I don't know exactly what happens in it, but it's a show about younger people with superpowers doing whatever it is. And that's also in the universe happening canonically at the same time as stuff in the boys' universe. So already it's starting to do that thing where it's
simple.
Yeah, what we talked about last week with how just things are always throwing too much in there for cash grabs. And apparently Gen V is good, so I don't want to shit on it too much, but it's just like I already said, I'm just already getting drained out on this show.
I feel like a lot of things are just, it really does. Yeah, we talked about it that one time. Just grabbing an IP and being like, go. Yeah. It's like, just pump the brakes a little. And it's not that it's wrong to want to like this and do more with it, but the rate at which we just shovel in and it's just triple down. Times 10, times 50. And you're like, God, this is what happens.
Yeah.
You're going to drain. It's just quantity over quality. And in the end, it's like, you'll get some good ones and you'll get a lot of bad ones.
Yeah, that's the thing too, is what it is kind of difficult about it, because there are good spin-offs. There are good additions. But when you take it to a certain point, it's like 80% bad.
You're going to lose. Yeah, I think it's you still end up losing people that you didn't have to lose just for the sake of being like, of course people are going to love this one. Yeah, I don't know if you can just assume that as much, but
and I know we've talked about this every episode, but I think it's pertinent to the conversation because clearly it's that prominent in movies and IPs that it has come up from a different show that we've talked about every time in every episode. You know, just how they try to stretch and bring out different things. So it probably will continue to come up forever because that's how it is.
I mean, that's why I'm always striving for new movies and stuff and like things that are just like
original.
Yeah, unique and original and like so. Well, like for this one or the last one we were gonna do, but technical difficulties, I had watched, knowing that you said you had watched it already, but I watched Longlegs.
Yes,
Nicolas Cage, which I've been wanting to talk about now because it's probably been a week now, but I think I still remember pretty much all of it.
There's not too much to it, which is nice. It's a horror movie, so it's usually a pretty fucking simple story. It's short.
This one, it only gets kind of crazy in the end, and you can, I think, kind of put the pieces together pretty easily. Like, it's less about, like, it's not a mystery. It's a thriller. Yeah. So you're not, like, trying to figure out who did it. It's like, you kind of know who's doing it.
No crazy twists.
But it's more just, it's about the journey, not the destination kind of thing, I guess. But yeah, Nicolas Cage is just like the director of this movie. I should have looked to see. I don't know who it was, but easily one of my favorite performances for him, just because it's like, I feel like the writer's room for this was like, we want you to just go to the maximum level that you can go. Like, you're crazy, your wildness, just go as much as you want. There is really no, like, you can't go wrong.
Perkins.
No idea.
No.
Unless you pulled up movies, but it doesn't matter. It's like, off the name, I don't know that. And I was very surprised by, I think, how well paced it was. I expected a slow burn for some reason. I think I just do that with a lot of horror movies where the reviews are like, well, it's scary, but maybe not exactly what I was thinking. For whatever reason, the vibe I felt, I was like, maybe it was just slower. But no, I thought from the get-go, it is like, you catch up. Well, I guess you watch the first moment of, that's a spoiler. I can spoil it. It doesn't matter. We're both seeing it now, and we're spoiling everything I want. So, like, you watch the girl who's the main character. You don't realize it till the end, but you watch the flashback scene of her encountering Nicolas Cage's character, who's this insanely crazy looking. Just, I think is it explained in the movie why he looks like that?
I don't remember that being explained, or any of the reviews talking about why. They just talk about the prosthetics themselves.
The only thing I can even begin to try to, like, put together why he looks like he does, he's always dressed in, like, all white, and his hair's white, and he's got, like, white all over his face all the time, and it's weird. I don't know if it's, like, a reverse satanic thing, the idea of, like, bringing... If I dress in all white, the all white house kind of thing, like, it's like a stretch almost to feel like it is. If it's not something to do with like some religious aspects that are clearly in the movie at many points, especially towards the end, then he's just a weird looking dude. But either way, he looks fucking crazy. And they do such a good job of, you'll get to see him fully, but not till way further in. I think I looked and it's like you don't actually get a good look at him until well over like 45 minutes and an hour in.
Yeah, it's always those behind the shot things,
or
or low camera
doing
angles,
like,
or he's doing
weird things with his hands
shit.
where he's just being like a weirdo. And I don't know, I think from the get-go, like once you get past the little flashback scene where she's a little girl and encounters him, you go straight to her being like FBI agent kind of thing. And she's on the scene with her partner. Yeah. And it's just this like really random, like she gets this feeling that the perp's in the house for sure. It's this house. And the guy's like, no way. Like, stop BSing with me. Like, get off that stuff. But I'll go check. All right. Yeah, I'll go check because we still have to check these houses for whatever thing we need. And then you don't even get enough time. It's like it just cuts to, it's just following her, not the guy going to the front door to knock. And she's just kind of like, I got a bad feeling about this watching this, where we're like, this doesn't feel right.
They got the behind the shoulder of him up in front of her and her walking up and her like clearly standing behind me like, I don't like this. But
and then the next thing you know, it's just a freaking dude's getting his dome popped off immediately in the doorway. And from the get-go, like from that moment, it's like, we are in. Like I was locked in right there. I didn't expect someone to get popped that quick. Yeah. Also, because you just don't know who the main character, other than her, who else is a main character yet. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, and what a great way to start a new, like an original movie like this that kind of subverts expectations straight off the bat. You know, you kind of get all those weird kind of psychic things, and like usually they'll kind of tease it with being like, oh no, you're stupid, and they'll do that thing in a horror movie. They line up and they're like, oh, there's gonna be a jump scare, but it's like, oh, it's just the dog running by or something. But no, this is just popped right in the edge straight off the bat. It's like, oh shit, okay, here we go.
Very, very good use of like, there's really hardly any jump scares. That could almost be one, but I like it. It's fully plot related though, where it's like, and that's a realistic thing in life. In the moment, she would not have probably, you wouldn't expect that to happen, and that would scare the hell out of you.
Real life is scary enough, man.
So that's like not even a jump scare. It's just logically how that happens. And then there's maybe one other where I think it's only the part where she's like going through her old pictures from her mom's place. And then all of a sudden, as she's going through it, like hits you with a very quick cut, like crazy loud noise with the dude's face because she has a picture of him. And I like in the moment
realization.
Yeah. And in the moment I was like, he's there. I kind of like was like, she's so connected to this. She has to be the person. Like, and I definitely am now starting to think the mom's a weirdo, and she's way more connected than anyone's giving credit.
Oh, that gives me goosebumps thinking about that.
Like the whole mom scenario. I was like, no, I don't know if it just felt like it, but to me, I was like, no, it has to be the mom. And all of you, like they allude to it pretty much. Like they're giving it to you by the time it's revealed. You should know it's the mom. That's like kind of the instigator bad guy,
but you don't want it to be the whole
you don't want it to be, and
that's why you fight it.
They put it up for good reasons, kind of, but in the end it's more of like it's torture on the girl in the end, no matter what. Like it's it's such a crazy plot to have to like go. It starts, I like that it doesn't get like super crazy like this stuff with a ton of weird supernatural kind of religious aspects, culty stuff, and I like that it's
you don't think it is until the end.
Yeah, it's really just like an FBI, like you're following the girl, just putting the pieces together, trying to figure things out, following the trails, getting more leads. You get little instances of watching Nicolas Cage's character with whatever he's doing at certain times, just to kind of give you those little breadcrumbs as like, this dude's weird, you're going to see him again, he's a big point of what's going on. And I actually, though, I think more surprised that I didn't mind the execution of the whole twist, I guess, more or less, or revealing what's going on, where
confirming it more.
Yeah, so. Like the dolls have these things in their head, the brain with like, he's putting, like satanic cult stuff is being put into like some soul or being or thing, or the devil itself is put into the doll. And as soon as it enters the house, it's infected the family. And it happens the same way every time. The dad kills the child and then will like the wife just willingly also dies, and then they kill themselves, kind of thing. Just this insane, and it's like 7 families now that have done it, and everyone's just like, there's never any signs of someone entering the home and doing something. It's always just this, but there's a note left every time. So clearly someone's doing it and knows and is wanting to get caught. And so, yeah, he's his like cryptic code, Longlegs guy, but he wants, I guess now I'm thinking about it, is there a reason he's wanting to get caught? It's the only reason you leave notes. It's the only reason you do all this. Is there a reason, like, does he want notoriety?
I think it might be a little bit of notoriety to spread the word of Satan or blah, blah, blah. But I think it's to fuck with the girl.
Really?
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of that aspect to it.
I guess you're right. She's in the FBI. He knows it in their little interrogation scene. The messages
are for her.
Yeah, in the interrogation scene, he's like, I've been watching you grow up from a little girl, basically. So I know where you are. That makes sense.
And a key point to bring up, too, we didn't go fully into the mom's story, but the mom's story is basically that, I don't remember exactly what happened in the beginning, but she like had to make a promise or like a deal with Longlegs or whatever to deliver these dolls to these families that infect the homes and make them want to kill them, basically, right? Yeah, it was either the girl dies or you can help me out. Yeah, for the sake of Satan. And the really, and like sign a deal with the devil forever. The montage of her like getting corrupted, I was like, oh, I don't like this. Yeah, you get a nice look at like her telling the girl basically, this is what's been going on. This was the reality of why you're even alive. Is I've been so the mom's been having to go and help. She's the one committing most of the crimes. If anyone's to be guilty of being on the scene, she's the one who drops off the doll, which is infected with, I don't know, quote unquote Satan. Yeah, and infects the house and the family, which causes them to want to kill each other. And I guess the only way, like, he was doing it for the devil. He was doing it for the sake of satanic worship. Yeah. And then she was just brought along. The mom was the pawn getting used. He basically just played her and said, I'll kill your daughter or you help me do this forever. Like, that's true. Like, she knows if you are instigated in any of this, you're gone for life. So you are in it for life. Good job. But and she just accepts it gets to the point worships. Of the main girl, FBI agent, figuring it out and knowing like there are some like kind of rules when you watch with like knowing if you destroy the doll or the person who gave the doll did, like if you killed them versus this or that. It's like she kind of puts together like, oh, it's my mom's the one doing this and bringing it in. I'm going to have to stop her. And the girl has the worst 24 hours of anyone's life I think I've ever seen, where it starts with she loses. Well, she's already lost her first partner, but that's kind of in the past. But just knowing that that's happened already sucks. Like the opening scene. Yeah. There's another scene where after some traumatic scene happened or she saw something crazy, there's a lady from the precinct who like wants to take her home. And she's like, you were in rough shape. You've had a bad day. Oh, sorry. Before that, she has to witness the entirety of her other current partner. After the other one died, she gets a new one. This dude has a family with a daughter and a wife. Mm. And she has to watch as he has the doll in his house and is corrupted. And she knows it. And she's like, I'm going to have to, everyone's dead here, basically. And then watches her partner kill basically everyone in the family, and then the mom has to finish the job by killing the partner, and then she has to finish the full job by killing her mom. So she's now seen her second partner and the whole family of him and her aunt that died in front of her, and then she had to kill her own mom. And then in the midst of like whatever, that one chick gets smoked by the mom at some point while in the car. I was like, this is... Oh, yeah, the cop that was with this her. Is bad. This is just so depressing. And then by the end of it, it's like, is it a happy ending? Well, I mean, we kind of stopped the bad thing, but you're not going to feel happy. But I know that. But well, so the ending is her watching the captain or whatever. Is he the captain or her partner? What the guy who goes in and kills at the very end? It's like, I just call him the partner. She's the smart one figuring it all out. Yeah, whatever. That guy, he goes in, like slowly, they walk into the kitchen and he stabs his wife to death. They don't show it, but you just hear the noises and it's like really weird. He walks out. I don't remember who she shoots first, but I think she shoots him first because he like comes after her, the daughter. Doesn't matter for what I'm explaining here. But then she has to shoot her mom or vice versa, whatever it was. And then she saves the kid. So I was like, I don't know. Did she like?
She broke the line.
Did she get fed up after watching the 7 people that died before and decided, oh, in this moment, I'm not gonna try to stop them from killing each other in the kitchen, but I'm gonna save this one kid who also, by the way, one thing I want to say before I forget, would still be connected to the doll, right? Because wasn't she connected, and that's why she passed out when the mom shot the shotgun of the head and exploded the little soul ball thing.
Whoa.
This sounds like such nonsense.
Yeah,
hasn't watched
and this all happened. All the crazy stuff is like within 20 minutes at the end, where you're like, "What?"
Nicolas Cage is dead at this point too.
Oh, he has smashed his face on the interrogation table in one of the craziest scenes of the movie.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about him a little bit more.
Probably my favorite scene in the whole movie. I don't know how loud this room is or how loud this mic is.
Who cares?
But either way,
I can adjust volume.
It is. They just cut to his character driving like back from something, and he hits you with one of these. That's gonna sound crazy, but
hit him.
He's like driving. He's just like, "Mommy!"
Yeah, that's right.
"Daddy!" Yeah. And he's just screaming at the top of his lungs. He's going ham, and they just like, no explanation. No resolution. It cuts into that and it cuts out of that. And you're like, okay. It's a glimpse into the guy's mind. I mean, he's never not crazy. So it's like, even seeing it, you're like, you are fully like, oh yeah, this dude's just wild.
Yeah, and
he's nuts.
And he does that thing all the time where he goes just like, and he
his hands
and the way he
weird.
moves. I'm like, God, I fucking hate you.
Yeah.
And these people are more freaky to me too, because it's not somebody that you can like when she does the interrogation with him and then he smashes his face in and kills himself.
Scene.
Great scene. I'm comparing it to Heath Ledger Joker. Heath Ledger Joker. It's not just because they have pale skin and long, scrangly hair and fucked up faces. They're both amazing, outstanding performances, but the difference between Longlegs and the Joker is that Longlegs is like fully 100% gone. Heath Ledger, he's obviously crazy and stuff, and he's like 90% gone. But you can talk to Heath Ledger. You can talk to the Joker. You can make the Joker angry. You can make him feel emotions. This Longlegs guy, I don't think anything that would have happened would have made this guy upset in any way. I mean, that's at least the vibe I got. I don't know. Nothing happened that I guess would have made him upset because everything went his way in the movie, but it just freaks me out so much more because it's like you were getting nothing from talking to this guy. There's nothing that is happening, nothing that's going to be accomplished from capturing this guy, from finding him or doing anything. It's just completely 100% insane.
He's got the vibes of just, I don't know. Yeah, the dude who's gone, he's crazy as soon as you see him, and if you can't see that, I don't know. It's kind of the concept. I don't know if you get too deep in it when they bring in any sort of like satanic cult or any like religious aspect. That's always intriguing to me because it can be a cop-out completely, I think, where it's just like, oh, evil, Satan, bad, we do bad things.
Yeah.
It's like, that's kind of BS. But as someone who like, I was at least raised pretty Christian and like have read chunks of the Bible, not anything crazy, and was like raised in knowing like certain values or beliefs that has satanic things within it, and like there's always the idea that like once like Hereditary is one of my favorite horror movies because it takes, or The Witch, they both kind of do the same thing. Like, what if the devil isn't like the devil? Like, there's no such thing as like the guy in the basement type of thing or under in hell. It's like the devil is just evil seeping in to your mind or like your family. Like Hereditary is all about like evil just kind of seeps into this family, obviously from an event, or The Witch, there's an event, but evil seeps in, and the actual thing, the devil, doesn't have to do anything. It's just humans being humans, going at each other's throats, doing the nastiest things at times where it's like, I think the Nick Cage character, he's just like, he can hit upon that once you're in his presence. You either fully reject, but some people who are convincing enough or might be malleable kind of buy in.
Yeah.
There's like that weird pull. I kind of like, I don't necessarily believe that that's a thing, but I believe in a movie sense with a charismatic person. Obviously, this guy isn't like handsome, but like he put her at odds end too to be like, you're fucked one way or another. And then
he knows how to play people.
In a sense, I think she kind of like, is she also a pawn? Yes. But does the mom start to kind of like it too? Does she also buy in and start to enjoy it, or is she just fucked?
The mom buys in and starts to enjoy it. That's how I interpret it 100%, and that's what I was saying earlier. Yeah. Is watch the montage, and you watch her be like crying and freaking out after
starts
the first
bad
one and putting the blood on her hands, and then you slowly start seeing her just being like, oh, okay, and then you start seeing her be like, oh, I'm in this.
There's no other choice.
Believer, and her at the end. I don't even think it's a her no other choice thing. Like, I don't think it's a choice. I think it's, I mean, I guess it is still a choice, but it's like, I am Longlegs now, like not literally, but I am a believer. I am a worshiper. I am fully ingrained in all this. I believe in all this, and you see that in her face and the way she sits on the couch and the way she walks up to the door and the nun outfit and everything about her.
Yeah, and the weird raising where she like has the conversation with her mom and she's like, "Do you still do your prayers?" She's like,
"Oh God, I forgot."
She's
about
like,
that.
No,
earlier.
Like I never have. They've scared me, and she's like. Yeah, they don't really mean anything.
Yeah, then she starts laughing and
whatever
she does
just
in
like
the room. I'm like,
I think that was one of the first moments where I was like, oh, this lady's everything prior made her out to seem to be like, oh, she's just like super overbearing, overly conservative Christian type. And then it's like she says that, I was like, oh, okay. Oh, no, that's not it then.
I didn't understand what was happening in that moment at first. I didn't think like, oh, she's off the deep end, she's evil. I thought that maybe she was just literally just like psycho. She was just a little crazy, not like evil, satanic kind of crazy, murdering people and helping Longlegs do all this kind of crazy, but just like she was broken from whatever happened when they were younger.
I think that was a good play on the movie's part. They show her being like a massive hoarder. They had like show her being they have her in a very what I think is what we've seen in certain instances like a classic crazy person. I don't know, that's like loosely used, but like is super overbearing on her daughter in weird ways. A massive hoarder, doesn't clean even, like is just kind of dirty and gross, but like lived in the same house for Lord knows how long and won't leave. It looks like she never leaves that bed spot that she's in almost. And yeah, it's just a weird, I don't know. Some of those things get so weird when, they bring in like anything satanic where I'm like, all right, what's the play here then?
Yeah.
Are we going this way or are we going this way? There's usually like, there's either...
We're going off the rails, or like keeping it kind of grounded, freaky.
We're gonna go the Conjuring, like someone's doing spinning, and you're like your full possession, like flipping chairs.
Conjuring gets like a superhero action movie at the end of some of them.
But
still good movies.
I will say though, even when you talk crazy, this is where some weird stuff is like. I know this will sound wild, but to me, it's always a story that I'm like, if the story lasts this long, maybe there's some promise to it. My dad always said that there was this buddy he had, or maybe it was even someone within our family, but who's like dead now or something, maybe. But I think it might have actually been a family member where it was like my dad's aunt came home one day from going out and her son had been home and had been known to have like weird things going on. He was acting very, very strange, just doing really bad things and saying things and talking about being into things that are not what we would like, and said she came home one day and legitimately all the furniture in the house was flipped upside down. All of it. Like, and the only person who would have done it is her son, who was getting into like satanic worshiping and stuff and doing this weird.
Was he like a teenager or a kid at that point?
No, he was like old, I think. Like,
like an adult?
Like which is kind of weird. There's like, those are the levels to like, that gives me the chills sometimes where I'm like, if I did walk into my house and I had the idea of knowing certain things where like the upside down stuff is, it's like, it's a symbol, it's an analogy kind of thing. But for someone to take it to that level, it's like, ooh.
Yeah,
I don't like that.
I don't even believe in that stuff. And we've talked about this before, and I don't believe any supernatural stuff or all that, blah, blah, blah. I believe in aliens. Aliens are real. But I don't even believe in any of that stuff. But if I walked into my house and all my shit was flipped upside down, I'd be like, all right, I'm freaked out.
It'd be a little weird.
It's definitely a bit of a cultural thing and like kind of a social thing that's been kind of implemented too, just from watching these movies.
Exactly. The Hollywood idea of an exorcism or satanic cults is such a like glossed up, dolled up version of things.
It's going to invoke that emotion that you see when you go see those movies if you saw something in real life. Like,
well, I mean, and I will say, stories wise, we have a friend who at least his parents were missionaries at one point, and I know have stories that he's heard from them about experiences that are just kind of like, it does feel like you had to have been there because it sounds so crazy. But I mean, even then, I've looked up stuff online. The stuff that freaks me out is where it's like you can hear like young girls who talk with like this voice of an old man. Yeah, and you're like, what is happening here? Like, what is going on in some of these videos? I would love to see the proof, and it's always tough where it's like, is it real or is it not? I'm like, yeah, that's why I don't really care to actually go even that far.
Yeah, I'm not going to believe anything I read or see in a video. I'd have to have my own experience, and I haven't had shit.
Which is why the movies are fun. That's why it's like these are the ones that I like where I'm like, okay, I can play along with this for a while, and I like this.
I wanted to go off on a tangent when you were talking about Hereditary, because I think this will be a fun one to talk about just fairly briefly, because I watched Hereditary for the first time. It was like close to when Sydney and I first dating, because she made me watch it and then she fell asleep. So I watched it like by myself while she was asleep. Done 10, 15 minutes in.
I'll just say for me, Hereditary is still probably, since I saw it whenever it came out that year, it's probably my favorite horror movie that I've seen since I saw it.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. And I think I watched it. It might have been like January or February or something, or the beginning of this year. First time I ever watched it.
Have we talked about this?
Probably. Not on the podcast, but we've probably talked about this. And this movie, I don't... this is going to be a funny one. I don't think there's been a movie that's fucked me up for such a long period of time after watching the movie since I was like 7 when this happened, but since Bridge to Terabithia, because I was so sad when that kid died.
Oh God.
That's totally different than what I'm talking about now, but it's just the dichotomy there is
literal children's book to straight up horror fest.
One of the greatest horror movies ever.
Did you know anything about the movie going in? No plot points or anything?
I knew that it was super, super scary.
Okay, that's perfect, because that's the ideal way when there are certain moments in the movie where you're like, oh, holy that just happened. Like the one moment, at least in particular, first time.
It's at least I think it's the moment.
It ramps up so fast to the point where you're like, oh, this is bad. And then it's like, oh, that's the worst thing that could have ever fucking happened right there. Holy.
Yeah, that had me fucked up in thinking about that in the scenario and how that went down for probably 10 days. I was laying in bed thinking about it. And that's what fucks me up more too, because this is before anything happens, because the end of the movie is like crazy. You could almost put it like, no, you can't put it.
It's like this is like the jump off point after you've you met the characters. This is kind of like this is the first. Here we fucking go.
And it's the end of the first act, beginning of the second act, and it's in that I just couldn't. Because it's a grounded thing. There's no horror thing. There's no supernatural things happening. I mean, technically there is if you really want to go into the backstory of the mom and the grandma and all that. All that. There is that irrelevant. This is just some idiot kid doing some idiot kid stuff with his little sister.
Oh, okay. The brother.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking
the idiot teenager with his little
I thought you were calling
sister.
the girl the idiot kid. No. I was like, oh, that's rough.
And it's just
wasn't her fault.
It's just I have goosebumps right now, dude. I fucking hated that so much. It freaked me out. And I'm by myself watching it, and he's fucking sleeping. I'm like, I need to talk to somebody about this movie because I did because Dylan. That's one of Dylan's favorite movies too. And that's another. That's an A24 movie, right?
Yeah, should be.
Dylan really likes A24 movies, and I went back and talked to him about that almost as soon as that happened. And I was just like, dude, I cannot believe how much this movie is sitting with me. I still am like freaked out about it, and just that scenario and how they show it, the maggots coming out of the head and just everything. I'm like,
I'll say my favorite scene, I think, of the movie, the one that stuck with me the most, is directly after that moment.
Yes.
You get the morning of that's quite literally one of the most bone-chilling things I think I've experienced in a movie. Is, as the watcher, you saw what happened, he just left. There is a now decapitated child's body in the car left over from the night past, so it's been there for hours. And all you get is the long shot of watching the brother, where you don't
go off the brother.
He didn't sleep all night. He didn't sleep a wink. He's just laying there, and you hear in the background, like your classic, your mom's getting up to go do groceries in the morning, and she's got the car keys. You hear the car keys jingling. You're just watching the brother's face still.
Sound.
All right,
sound
all right, honey, I'm going out. No big deal. You hear the door close, the front door, and then you hear front door or a car door open, and the mom's scream that she gives out is like the most.
All the actors are so good.
Oh, it hurts to the core to know if you were walking in to see your dead child decapitate, like a grotesque picture of your child, and you had no clue that was what you think she's just asleep in bed. And it hurts even more because you can't see her face, you can only hear her, and you watch the brother as he listens, and he doesn't move, doesn't faze him, because he's just obviously shock, like complete, just like he just gets up, he parks the car, gets up, goes into his room as if nothing happened, which I think a lot of people actually would do.
Yeah,
they would do that.
The resistance, what makes that so good is the restraint on showing what happened.
Yeah, it's so fast.
So when it initially happens, it shows him looking in the rearview mirror and like, oh God, please, and looks back. It doesn't really show it, but you know. And then he drives back, and just like the whole scene that you're talking about, it's just the one shot of him going up into the room and then waking up in the morning and all the sound design of everything happening out there, and then you don't know exactly what she's seeing. You have a pretty good idea.
You got an idea at least.
And they don't show it in the restraint and holding back until they do show it, and then it's like fucking worse than what I thought it was going to be.
Well, I think in what they do, you never actually see her body in the car. What they show is, I think, her head on the side of the road.
Yeah, for with the maggots.
Yeah, so you actually get the shot of what they didn't see. You get just the part that fell off on the road that's just been sitting there overnight, and it's the face, which is like I would rather see the body.
Yeah.
Like what a good play is like, what they're seeing is terrible. We're going to show you even worse.
Yeah.
This little boom, there it is. And you're like, oh.
Yeah, and that fucked me up for 10 days, and I was thinking about it like every day. The rest of the movie is good, but like that whole section there, just and then it's just the breakdown of the family and them shitting on each other, and then you find out about the curse.
It's the perfect pulling point to be like, what's like after you saw that, I think anyone could fully believe a family tearing itself apart after that moment
easily, especially if the satanic shit's actually happening.
So like, let alone that coming into it, and really kind of the movie trying to say like that's the reason maybe, but. Like that, an event like that within a family would shake them to the core. Like you would see sides of people you don't want. That's like the best part. You watch the mom, just all of a sudden these freaking things, and part of you now has to be like, is this like the bad thing, the evil in her turning on, or is this just her wanting to like, man,
having a mental breakdown.
The scene with her son where she just fucking berates him at the dinner table, just lays into him. Kind of justified. Like you can't fully say like she doesn't get a right to do that. Now at the level she does it, yikes. And also think about the kids. He literally just has to sit there and be like, thank you for reminding me about the thing that I did, that what you think I wanted to happen. And it's just like there's so many levels of a family dynamic playing onto a scary story, almost like just a haunted house-ish, like haunted family sort of scenario. But like that's why it's so good. And most people I think can claim like, man, that movie fucked me up. It hits on a super relatable human level of like, these characters are for one, like all of them are acting their asses off, and it's so well acted. It's just so like heartbreaking to watch this family go and destroy themselves. In the worst, like in everything happening in terrible, terrible ways.
I think we might have to change. Maybe it's different because it's within a 24-hour span. But we said that chick in Longlegs had the worst time of her life ever. I think that the 17-year-old boy might have had it worse.
He had a pretty bad day.
That day. And then the climax of the movie with her throwing the book in there, him catching on fire, and then her going up on the roof and having her head seesawed off, and then him falling out the window and then getting that might work. That might be worse. It might take the cake of her.
Naked people all in your treehouse.
Yeah.
Or like it looks like, they're just doing a crazy actual ritual, and he's like crowned as the king. I remember. It's the
'Cause
son.
It needed to be a male.
So that's like that. The crazy part of it is there's the whole. I always have to look it up if I was, but yeah, there's some like it needs to be a male heir. They were pissed at the fact that she like.
Because apparently she could control. I don't know if there's some control thing or
the
like
mom,
some weird satanic control of.
Wasn't it the mom dies? The mom's dead.
The grandma.
Yes,
Yeah.
The mom's mom is dead, and the friend of that like the dead mom comes and starts being buddy with their family. And
Oh
like,
yes, I forgot about that whole twist.
You need to come
great.
you need to come to our meetings. We're at where we talk about stuff and grief and things, and that's the pull of like they're the ones organizing all of it, and they understand because I think it was like there was a fuck up in the bloodline or something. They had a girl. That's why the mom is the fuck up, and that's why I think she hates her mom and always had a bad relationship with her because she wasn't a boy. She was supposed to be a boy to finish off this whole thing. And since she's not a boy, she resented her daughter. So then once the mom had her son, that's when the mom dies within that time span of whenever he's 17 years old. The grandma dies, and immediately all the friends are like, it's time. We're going. And they fucking pull it off. They actually
people
do
standing
it.
in the background with like the Titan. Don't they have like Titan smiles, or
they're going crazy? And
they're doing
another one of my
smiles.
favorite parts is the shot where you get towards the end of the ramp up moments leading into that. The mom goes straight like exorcist mode and can like climb on the walls and stuff. But there's a shot from the son like hiding down and thinking he's good, and then it pans to a different side of him. And she's up above him, like in the rafters, just barely, like literally go like Spider-Man-ing.
The classic, the classic, yeah,
classic. And I'm such a sucker for when there's no noise involved or any audio cues, and it's like not fully visible, but it takes you like that split second of like focusing in to be like, oh my dude, she's right there, and that always hits me so hard. And you're like, oh, you gotta go.
Yeah, and then they start doing the thing where she floats and her head gets sawed off, and then you have the naked, headless bodies in the treehouse. Man, it's just
there is a sawing off thing, isn't there?
She
like
is
a
floating
straight
in the
up.
sky, and there's a wire around her neck
That's
that's
right.
moving.
It's literally going crazy.
Or she's doing it, I think.
Oh, that's
just
right.
chopping her. It's horrifying. It's just this episode's gonna be gnarly. You're just talking about the gnarliest stuff on here. I'm so glad I got to talk about the Hereditary on the podcast because it just had me so shooken for
that is
a minute.
And I'm glad too because that's such a good movie.
Yeah,
and that's like still it's even if you haven't seen it, it's like we just said so many crazy things. It doesn't even begin to describe the feeling of watching it though.
Yeah.
Because it's all you need to be seeing what's on screen. It's the full experience of like amazing story, amazing characters, amazing sound design, and like everything is so well done. It's well paced. There's just
I got to put time codes on here just in case somebody does want to watch it because I'm sure we have a few friends that haven't seen Hereditary, and if they start listening to us talk about it, I'll just put a time code on there and just be like, hey, if you want to skip this or if you want to pause it and come back or like whatever, because Hereditary is one of those ones where you just got to go watch, man.
It is. Just, you have to see it.
So same with Longlegs. It's not on the same level as Hereditary, but
yeah, that's where it's like Hereditary to me is like, it's like 5 out of 5. It's so good. Longlegs, I think I even on my letterbox I gave Longlegs. It's like a 4 out of 5.
I think I gave it an 8 out of 10.
And I was like, yeah, it was very good. I really like that. It's not perfect, but like because that's the exact thing. Like when I think of Hereditary, immediately I'm like, God, that movie's good. It's like, I'm just like, God, that movie can't do anything better.
I got goosebumps as soon as we talked.
It's like it can't do anything better, and I'm such a sucker for when like good horror is what gets you to feel like that. Is like good horror gets me to. Oh, like you can't sleep well at night, kind of like is it the point? Kind of like I'm not trying to freak myself out too much, but when executed so well, I'm all in for the ride. It's an experience.
I haven't had a horror movie that's made me feel like Hereditary did because I have been scared from horror movies. I've been freaked out. I've had to go to bed and like be just like scared that something's gonna happen or come in my window or under my bed. I don't know, in the darkness, whatever. Blah blah blah. This movie had me more. It's the grounded, just the crazy fucked up family part. That section that we talked about, that had me fucked up and thinking about it for 10 days. Because that's just God, what if that did happen? If I had a son and a younger daughter and he fucking did that, and I'd be like, and I was just thinking about it, it just made me anxious for days.
Yeah.
And it's that what got me. The rest of the movie's really, really good too, but like that stretch making me feel that way had me so messed up. And
they also, I'm just kind of thinking about it. I don't know if it's on purpose, but to do a movie where you have mom, dad, son, daughter, you kind of have one character for almost everyone to try to relate to. The daughter's tough. Yeah. That's a tough one. But at least for the son, the mom, and the dad, they all have moments where it's like the moments with the dad where you can tell he's just like,
what are we doing? Everybody's losing their minds.
This is terrible. I just want to be a normal family, man. Like, why are we doing this? And ends with like he has no choice but to just succumb to what his wife is doing, and just he's dead. It's just like that's such. Obviously, you take it to the craziest extent, but I'm sure there's plenty of people who can relate to like, and the mom on the other side being like, you don't understand the severity of things going on, or they like you don't get what
still
I'm
doesn't
like,
believe it.
Yeah, like you not
believe it till he's on fire.
You're not understanding what I'm telling you. This is real. This is a thing, and I'm trying to stop it. And God, and then the son just having to be like, and it's my fault. Any of this feels like it's happening. I set this thing off, and I just have to live with this guilty conscience for forever. Like, nice, fun.
Yeah, until you become the king of Satan, or whatever, the king of whatever. There was like a name of Amon
he has a name.
Shit.
What's
yeah.
I won't remember the name.
It's the king of something with an A, I think.
It was some like if you looked up the demigods or the undergods of hell, it's some like the sixth one from here.
Yeah.
He has his realm and blah, blah, blah.
This is actually a good transition to talk about what the next thing I want to talk about is, because it's still it's a form of anxiety, but just a different kind of anxiety, which is the bear. It's not horror anxiety, but it's like watching TV shows stress. It's like Succession anxiety. I've only watched the first few episodes of Succession, but I assume from what I've seen, it's a lot like
I think
the bear with that.
Bear probably hits a harder level because it's like Succession gets away with some comedy that hits you at times. Like to me, it always feels like it's trying to be a comedy at times, but the bear goes so serious. I know at times where like,
how much of it have you seen?
First, weird enough, like 4 or 5 episodes.
Really?
I think. And I am going to watch that. I just haven't yet.
That one's nice because they're mostly 20-minute episodes. I think there's a couple hour-long episodes.
Okay.
And it's 3 seasons. So it's still very early.
I guess I'll say what to me, I can't relate to Succession as much because I'm not some fucking billionaire media conglomerate who has endless amounts of cash to do whatever. Yeah. You don't feel bad for them. But people in the bear, within the first few episodes, I know like you relate with these people. They are trying to portray very much working class people who are just kind of like anyone else and doing their thing. To some extent.
They are fucking psychos. So let me give a quick just snippet of what this show is about. A restaurant in Chicago and a family basically that tries to run this restaurant. The main character goes away, becomes like a super chef, then comes back because somebody dies in the family. That's the general premise of the show. I'm doing like Trump hands here. That's the general premise of the show. He comes back, and it's just them trying to kind of unite and become a family over their brother that died. And then there's other people that are like kind of family but not family. They call each other cousin, but they're not. And then there's other people in there. It's about a lot of really tight-knit, close people. This is where we do not relate. These people are fucking psychopaths. Like what I would imagine East Coast people are, but I don't know if Chicago people have the kind of same attitude as East Coast people, but everything they do and the way they communicate is yelling and screaming and being really angry and aggressive, but then saying I love you in the middle of that. It's like that thing. And the first episode, and this show does this a lot. The first episode, the entire thing is just hard jump cuts, zoomed in. I think maybe there's Dutch angles. I don't know. Maybe I just imagined that because it felt so stressful. But it's just zoomed in, screaming in there. You can see the spit coming out of their mouth, and it cuts over to the other person. It cuts over to the other person, and it's people dropping shit on the floor and spilling stuff in the kitchen and fucking everything up, and everybody's screaming. It just builds this tension. And that is the entire first episode. You watch that for like 20 minutes straight. So that's how I get introduced to this show. Sydney and I have been watching it very, very slowly. We started this probably like 6 weeks ago. And like I said, there's not much to watch, but we just watch it really slowly because we haven't been together.
I watched a while ago, and I don't remember most. I can tell. Off of you just describing that, I'm like, I can't even put scenes to most of this.
I just remember being like, oh my God, am I not going to be able to watch this either? It's so just stressful. I have a hard time with those shows. I have a hard time with those shows watching a lot of them. That's why I had a hard time with the Succession.
Yes.
Those episodes are like those episodes are like an hour.
They're an hour.
These episodes are short.
And I come back to like, it does get serious. It definitely does. There are some of the most serious moments in Succession where I was like, "Whoa, this feeling is gross because of how well it's being portrayed at times." Like, you can still end up relating with billionaires when they bring it down to the family level because everyone's still a family at some point.
Yeah, and that's a lot of the dynamic in this show. And I was like, oh, because this show does end up having comedy in there pretty good too. It's like really weird, dark humor comedy. Very like sometimes it's like that comedy.
Maddie Matheson is in it. I know that
everything he does in there, and
like I just follow him on YouTube.
Yeah, everything he does in the show is fucking comedy and super funny. But his family's last name is Fack, F-A-K. So they're the Facks, and there's like 9 siblings or something like that. They're super funny. But where this show really shines, I could already tell this show was really good by the acting is top notch. This show has won several awards. I know that one of the supporting actresses just won an Emmy, I believe is what it was. Is that one movies? I fucked this up last time. Grammy's a music,
not Grammy,
right?
Yeah,
Grammy's
not Grammy.
Music, Emmy. She just won an Emmy, I believe. And so I thought this show was just going to be really good acting, really good videography, and blah blah blah. It'd be cool to see what this restaurant does. But they go in, I don't know how far it is into the show, but they have one episode breaking down who, and I think I brought this up in the first episode that we watched because we brought up John Bernthal, who's the dead brother. I think I brought that up because we were talking about him being a dead brother. Oh, and Peanut Butter Falcon. So he's the dead brother, and they started to have these flashbacks of the dead brother. Then they have one episode. I actually don't know if it's in the first or second season. I'm almost done with this show and caught up, by the way. I'm only like a couple episodes behind. That is just the family at Thanksgiving dinner.
I've seen seen the clips, at least like the snippets people have taken for like
and this
reels and
this
stuff.
episode is why this show is put in like one of the top tiers of shows that there are, is because this show just shows you how dysfunctional this family is, and again them yelling and screaming at each other at the way that they talk to each other. Oh, because Bob Odenkirk's in it.
I know he's in it too. I've seen that.
That's the only episode that he's in. They have Jamie Lee Curtis, Bob Odenkirk. They have a couple other people guest star in that episode. It's really funny and random. But that episode is so amazing, and they end up having these other kind of one-off shot episodes. They do so well at building all of the characters that matter in the show. There's a guy who makes dessert where he has a whole episode where he's out in Copenhagen, and it just shows these montages where there's like no sound. It's just him learning and being with the guy who's like teaching him, and these really emotional musical moments. And then they have this cut back to these really crazy crazy things that are happening. The one thing that made me like really feel something in this show, and like what got me like, oh, this show is awesome, a lot like that longer episode with Bob Odenkirk in it, is the lady that won the Emmy. She starts off in the first season as just this like kind of bitch in the kitchen, like shut the fuck up, don't talk to me, don't bother me, you don't know what you're talking about, blah blah blah. And the whole point of the show is everybody like growing and finding their place in this dysfunctional kitchen and finding their place in the kitchen. And she ends up going to a restaurant and taking some cooking classes to upgrade the restaurant, because the restaurant starts as like a shitty on the corner sandwich shop, and they make it in like a gourmet Michelin star attempt restaurant. And she goes to the restaurant or goes to the class at school and starts learning all these things. It does really awesome. And you see her take the main character's knife, who was the gourmet chef that's coming in here and teaching everybody how to do it, the brother of John Bernthal. And he basically, the simple thing is just, she says, "Oh, chef, here's your knife. Thanks for letting me use it." And then he says, "Keep it." And it's like the first time, at least that I remember, you see her smile. She doesn't smile on the show. I'm like, oh my God, they got character growth. People are starting to care about what they're doing in this restaurant and what's happening. And they do that in like singular episodes for every single character. And it just makes you care about what's happening in this dysfunctional, anxiety-ridden, horrible fucking kitchen where everybody's screaming at each other so much more. And this show is awesome. Highly recommend this show. And like I said, easy watch too.
Yeah.
So
that's what's it on?
It's FX.
FX.
Yeah, it's an FX show, but Hulu. So you can watch it on Hulu.
I don't know if I have Hulu, but I can always find ways.
You probably be able to stream it allegedly.
Allegedly
stream it somewhere.
Allegedly streaming.
Yeah.
And then thinking about Bob Odenkirk, though, there are some shows, TV is hard to convince me to get emotional on, because normally it's not like, well, I guess most of the shows I've watched aren't super emotional at times, but
yeah,
one of the few that took me by surprise and hit me like a brick wall. I think I talked about it with you when I was still living at your place, and it was when I finished Better Call Saul. And there's just moments in the finale I think it's the finale, if not like one of the last few episodes between Saul or Jimmy and his brother Chuck. And it was just a very interesting dynamic where I was like, it's not often I watch a brotherly dynamic played out like this, that there are certain aspects that at a time reflected my life. And I was like,
things hit.
What
things
the
hit hard.
Like, it was like something that was said, and then it was like a facial expression reaction from the other guy. And I was like, I remember sitting there, I was like, oh shit.
Dropped it. Oh, fuck.
Yeah. Oh man. I was like, this is gonna wreck me. And sometimes it's the most unexpected shows though, but with fleshed out characters, where it's like the reason I think I ended up at that moment where it was like, you are finally watching the characters themselves get emotional over it. And it's their first time, like, maybe, like, you just see instances of the brothers being brothers when you watch them be at each other's throats for so goddamn long. And it's so relieving, but, like, at the same time, if you know the show, you're like, but that's in the past. And that can't happen anymore. So it's like, there's just
fucking Chuck.
There's some crazy shit in those shows, but, like, the characters are so fleshed out that anything they do that ends up, like, in Saul... or Jimmy is such a fucking sarcastic asshole. You can't take him seriously ever. So when he is serious, or you see him become serious, 90% of the time he cries on screen. 5 minutes after it ends, he's gonna be like,
he's gonna do some Jimmy shit.
He's gonna look at you and be like, "That's pretty good, right?" And you're like, "Damn!" So you just like hammed it up for the whole thing. But those few moments when you find, like, that's the acting of Bob Odenkirk. I feel like when you watch him, there's modes where you're like, You can tell when he's fake crying, where you're like, he's hamming it up. But it also treads the line so much. There are scenes where I was convinced within the scene where I'm like, I'm still already emotional watching it too. And I was like, oh, this is so good. And they hit you with that exact moment. He looks back at like Kim or something and is like, pretty good, right? Like, I got everyone on my side with that. And even she was crying.
And she's
and then you're like, like, I just got brought in on that dude's roller coaster. He just took me for a fucking ride, and I was fully in, believing it. Like, good characters, good acting. Like, you can't even tell.
FX?
AMC.
Oh, damn it. Close.
Another, like, bright spot out of all the weird cable channels when Walking Dead was good. They got big, and then Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul. Walking Dead just outdid its time.
Is, like, Sons of Anarchy FX? What's another FX?
That's
okay,
FX.
Okay, because I know FX has a couple.
Well, they're Always Sunny is FX, which for me is like, that would be the biggest pull.
Yeah. That's I lost my train of thought of what I was going to say about Better Call. Oh, that's what Vince Gilligan does about making these characters that you care about, but are always like more than other shows. And I know that's how you like grab people in, but just making these decisions. And it's not like a stupid like horror movie decision. You're like, oh, I'm gonna run towards the bad guy instead of getting in the car and driving away from this blah blah, stupid things like that. Or if in another normal show like stupid tropes, it's like, oh, you went through all this. You spent like a 3-episode arc of setting up this story and building this thing, and then you figure out it's to do some evil thing to stab some guy in the back who just like, I don't know, did something stupid like hit your car or something. Like, I can't think of an exact example from the show that's like that, but that's what that show Chuck and Jimmy and the only good person in that fucking show, it might be fucking Hamlin.
No, I'll tell you this. Well, okay, you're right. You're right to some extent. To some extent, I'd say. But my favorite,
there's levels.
Might take the cake as my favorite character in the Breaking Bad universe is Kim Wexler.
Okay.
Kim is she is the best person you could ask for in a partner. Are you kidding me? This chick literally was like willing to put her life fucking on the line for this absolute piece of garbage dude. And he squanders it. Like,
well, kind of. You want to see the end.
I mean, it's if you watch all the way through, it's like kind of. But in the end, it's like you could have had it better, in my mind.
Yeah.
Not where you are compared to where you could be. But either way, like Kim she's so good as a character. She is like pivotal. Obviously, if it's not Saul who's the main character, it's Kim. Like, they get
especially
almost equal screen time and within like it's Saul, and then all of a sudden halfway through it's like, ooh, we're really starting to like dabble with Kim a lot more. And I loved it. I remember being like, it's good when a show can convince me that the person I'm not bought in for originally is actually better than who I thought I was bought in for.
Vince Gilligan's good at doing that, man. Bringing people in that
like as good as Heisenberg and Walter White is, you don't have anything without Jesse. Like, Jesse is arguably the better character, even though Walter White is the more iconic character. But like, there's so many, like, the partner duos they have in those shows, so good.
Yeah,
so good.
It's fantastic.
Every character is good. It's tough to pick a favorite, but yeah, they're all good.
I don't know if this was real or not, but did you see they're making, which again goes back to, I can't believe we always have to bring this up. People just keep things fucking riding. They have like a Nachos revival or something where it's like Mike pulling Nacho out of a garage underground or something, and I thought it was a tease for like a Nacho show.
No, that's got to be fake.
It looked real. I'll look it up again. I didn't do any more research. It was a quick clip I saw at my desk, and then I had to take a phone call when I was at work
based off what happened in the show, that's impossible.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know if it's like something that they're trying to put in
Another
between.
one of my favorite characters was Nacho.
God, Nacho was awesome. But
sick
I don't know if they're trying to put it in between or what. And I was like, oh, what is this?
As far as I've heard, Vince Gilligan said after he was done with Better Call Saul, he was like, I'm done. Like,
didn't he say that after Breaking Bad and then El Camino came out?
No. I think El Camino came out. It was in between.
Or wasn't it like episode 2 or season 2?
It had to have been like in the midst of it, but at least at post Better Call Saul being now the official last thing he's done with Breaking Bad, his last thing he said was like, I might not be like done with it, but at least for a little bit, I want to do other stuff. So
he should,
and I think that's the plan. Is he's trying to do something else potentially, or hopefully. I don't know. I don't need any more. That's where I get worried. If I see something else, I'm like, no. You did the impossible. You made what I thought was the best show of all time, and then went and made another show that I can't quite choose which one I like more.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's the crazy
part.
That is
absolutely insane. I don't even think, honestly, El Camino, the movie, is pretty I feel like I remember watching it and I was like, it was cool as a Breaking Bad fan, but I think anyone else watching this would be like, okay, that was but it's not needed.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
it was very like give and take. I could have done without it. I don't mind that it's here.
Yeah, quick Google search. I think that was some bullshit that I watched, or maybe it was an old clip from the show of like a teaser trailer. For
I really hope it is, because
I do too, man. Because I don't
don't need any more. It has ended on a note that you couldn't go higher. You can only. I say that, but it's like if Vince Gilligan comes out and he's like, I got another idea, I will watch because I believe him. But most anyways, I think he's saying, I'm kind of done with this because I've ran it out and there's no more ideas. And I love that it's finished on, wrap a bow on it. It's perfect. Like,
did you watch El Camino? I don't even remember what happens in that.
It's just all about Jesse post literally end of Breaking Bad.
It's him driving El Camino away from
and it just is kind of about like he reunites with like Skinny P and Badger really quick at the start. They clean him up and then he goes through just like dealing with some loose ends kind of things.
Very not needed.
And yeah, it was like, I don't need this. And then it ends with him ending in Alaska, like very similar to what Walter was trying to do, just to escape for a little bit. But yeah, I was like, honestly, I kind of like it more if this didn't exist, maybe even, because I like the idea of an open-ended, like, we at least know he got away. I like you don't know if he got the happy ending. Yeah. I think that's a cooler way to do it, and you let people interpret their own.
Open ending's way more fun. Some people hate
and it's not even that open, because more or less it's like it would have been worse. You only mess it up if I don't get to see him get out. If he's stuck in there, and then like you need to tell me he's gonna die or something, but seeing him get out is like that's the perfect send off of like he gets his freedom. Whether freedom, like can he get away? I don't know.
And that's another like kind of analogy or like kind of existential thing is like he's not free either because he's fucked up. His mind is smoked. He's scarred for the rest of his life. He's never gonna be able to do anything normal. Even if he does get away and like go live something different, your mind and
he gets honestly one of the coolest, most badass redemption moments in the very end when Walter looks at him and Jesse has the gun pointed at him and he's like, "Go for it, take the shot. It's all you, buddy. You deserve it." And he looks at him and he's like, "Why don't you fucking do it yourself?" I was like, never give the man the satisfaction. I love it. Like that's what Walter wants. That's all he's done your whole life. He tells you a command and you follow through for once.
Even when you don't, you're getting played and you do it anyway.
Yeah, and for once, it's like the only time he's like, you got me. Go for it. Even with almost a smile on Walter's face where he's like happy, but you could almost be like, he's happy to be done, or is he happy he ends it on this note? And even Jesse's like, fuck off, bitch. And you're like, oh,
bitch,
let's go.
Yo, bitch.
So good.
Where the fuck has Bryan Cranston been, man? You know, we had that Godzilla thing that came out after Breaking Bad ended, and everybody was like, oh, Bryan Cranston looks awesome in this new Godzilla movie. Let's go. This is sick. And then he dies in the first, 5 minutes.
In it for 20 minutes.
And then has Bryan Cranston been in, something of note? He's such a good actor. Yeah. I feel like a wasted talent that needs to be in more. Maybe I'm just not seeing small things that he's in.
Yeah, I think
he's not in big stuff.
He does smaller projects. I know he did, he played a president in something. He's done other little shows or movies, maybe. Just nothing super big, I guess. But
yeah,
I don't know. I think he might be. Maybe he's just picky. I think he just doesn't have to worry about it. Honestly, he's just like, yeah, I'll take a job if I need it. And if I have a project that seems interesting enough, I'll do it.
Him and Jesse are still riding Breaking Bad. They have their tequila or whatever
the tequila
alcohol
brand
they made, and they do promotions as Well,
and if they do as good as I think this is a bad comparison, but I don't know what the actual. How it works with the alcohol business, but if you're anything like George Clooney, where he is worth $1 billion just because of his alcohol, it's so just because of his alcohol sales, nothing to do with Hollywood. So if those dudes actually have good alcohol and it does well, past the Breaking Bad money, they might be set for life.
Yeah, I'm sure they're probably chilling, man. Even me just looking it up here, 9.5 for Breaking Bad. It's beautiful.
Yeah,
he's got a movie called Moscow Mule, a Tenacious D. Oh, he's in a Tenacious D music video for Kung Fu Panda.
Oh, let's go.
Oh, it's because he's a voice actor for one of the Kung Fu Panda homies, I think.
One of the main squad.
Argyle. I heard that movie was.
He was in great. Argyle.
Yeah, maybe he was a voice of something. Sunny in Philadelphia. One episode in 2023.
I really liked what they did with them coming in. I really like that episode.
Asteroid City. I never saw that weird movie. I remember seeing the trailers for that, and it looks super fucking weird. You should look up it.
City?
I'll show you a trailer after we're done here, because I remember watching the trailers for it, and it was super weird.
I have seen that.
You watched it?
I've seen that
movie. Is it a weird movie?
That's Wes Anderson, right?
Yeah, I didn't watch it.
I have seen that.
Is it pretty fucking weird?
I just couldn't get the picture off my head. It is very weird, and it is very Wes Anderson. So if you don't like him, you won't like that. But I have a sweet spot for just watching Wes Anderson movies. I like the look. I like the weird humor. I like the pacing. And I think I watched it on a plane, but it's so Wes Anderson. It's like he's his own genre almost.
I don't know if I've seen many.
So have you seen Fantastic Mr. Fox?
No.
George Clooney, the weird claymation.
I've heard of it. Yeah, I know.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So good.
Really?
Really.
Claymation freaks me out.
That's the first. So I saw when I lived in Colorado, I hadn't seen a Wes Anderson movie. And we had friends over, and someone was like, oh, hey, let's watch Fantastic Mr. Fox. And I was like, what? Isn't that a weird kids movie or something? And they were like, no, it's Wes Anderson. I was like, oh, shoot, that's right. I've never seen that. And they're like, oh. And so I think someone who knew me at least was like, dude, I think you're going to love it. And we sat there, and I was locked in. I was like, oh, I get this. I think it's one of his better ones for sure. But
what are some other ones?
Grand Budapest Hotel.
Yes, I have seen that. I love that.
That's
movie.
That movie is awesome. Most people I think would call that his best, or at least their favorite. It's easily likable movie.
That one was relatively recent for me. I think I only saw that a few years ago.
Yeah, that's more recent even for me. I mean, obviously, within the last 4 years is when I finally dove into Wes Anderson. But I'm trying to think. I know I've seen others. I feel like I'm missing one that's even bigger, but honestly, the ones I just named are the biggest too.
Okay, so what was Asteroid City? I remember being so confused by the trailers.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of in his plots. They're all over the place.
They're so jumpy.
There's so much going on. So if I can even try to remember, there's this place called Asteroid City.
It's like a nuke town, right?
Yeah, it's it's in the desert in the middle of nowhere. It looks like, and it looks kind of like a nuclear bomb site almost. I don't know. Maybe they were doing stuff out there. Maybe that is part of it.
Dude, the trailer was so weird that I remember watching it several times in theaters and being like, I don't know what this movie is about. I'm interested, but then I never saw it. It doesn't have great ratings. It doesn't have bad ratings. It has like a 6.5.
I saw it, and it's even hard for me to remember. Oh, okay. I'm starting to remember. You're watching. Oh, it's fucking wild.
I might have to just watch it.
Yeah, me explaining is not going to help.
Yeah,
but I'll try.
I might just try to watch it.
you're watching a play performance within the movie, like at the same time, but they almost treat it as if it's not happening, but then it is. So like Adrian Brody,
quadruple layered.
Adrian Brody's a character, and at times they'll just shift to him. Like you can tell what they're working on is made to look like a set on purpose.
I remember thinking that from the trailers,
and that's on purpose because it is a set within the movie. But at times they just stay in it for so long. You're like, we're just kind of hanging out in this set, I guess. But then they'll cut to Adrian Brody in the audience or like behind the set, and he's giving you like in black and white. He's like narrating all of a sudden about what's going on in the people playing the characters' minds and what's happening in their personal lives. Like you go between.
So it's very hard to tell when it's
weird.
It's what?
Not necessarily hard to tell, just sometimes hard to keep up with, like, why are we here? Whoa, okay, we're here now. And there's an alien there. It's like a claymation alien. It's honestly one of my favorite parts. And everything in the movie is fully real. And then they show this crazy alien, and it's literally just like a little dorky-looking claymation alien. And it's so funny. I feel like it's so fucking funny. But it's just super quirky, like really weird humor. Wes Anderson is so like characters talk not like regular people. They are constantly going like so fast. They have one-liner after one-liner after one-liner. Kids talk like adults would with the intelligence of adults almost at times.
Genius child.
Where you're like, they don't talk like this. But when you buy into just thinking, I don't know, it's not even buying in. Like I would recommend, like, if you haven't seen Fantastic Mr. Fox, I watched that first. Asteroid City is like, yeah, it's good, but if you're going to watch Wes Anderson and you've already seen Grand Budapest, Fantastic Mr. Fox is one of those surprising ones where you're like, this is such a good animated movie. This is one of the, and it's not even a kid's movie at all. I thought it was for whatever reason. It's a very much like adult-oriented animated movie.
I'm gonna look up his movie catalog too and just kind of see, because that's another one of those directors that I feel like I'm not very well versed in and I've heard a lot about.
It's like I feel like I'm missing one that I can't think of, and when I see it, I might know it.
While you look that up, I'm gonna do the outro of the podcast here because I think my phone actually might die pretty soon, so hopefully it's not.
Moonrise Kingdom.
I haven't even heard of that one, so I might
Isle of Dogs also was kind of recent.
I have heard of Isle of Dogs. But yeah, thanks everybody for joining us. We're gonna wrap this up here. I think we'll be consistent at some point, but maybe not, and that's just the way it's gonna be.
No, we got unlucky.
I know. We
got unlucky.
It's really not even that bad, and it's really not a big deal at all. But it's just
we've
fun
been
to talk
actually
about.
As consistent as we can because of the wedding being we could not be there, and then fucked up technical stuff. We
could do it if we like. I bought one shitty mic I could put in the middle of the table and record it with my phone at my house. But I want to record it like this because I think it's more fun. And it's kind of fun to come down here, and I like how it sounds, and it's really easy to do. At some point, I will buy something and set it up in my house, and it's going to be weird because we're going to go from this to like a shittier one in my basement. But whatever.
It'll still be...
Yeah.
It is nice to have at your own place with just the freedom of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
I like
so, with that being said, always give me a like and subscribe. That's always going to help the channel. Get a lot of listens, all that good stuff. And I will take movie suggestions. Again, Cody does not do suggestions or feedback.
Nothing.
Actually, yeah, nothing.
No,
he doesn't like anything. But I'll take it if you want me to watch something. I will always take stuff more to write it down because I want to end up making a giant list and start making something that I can start checking off. Because doing this podcast will be a good excuse to go through a back catalog of things that I haven't seen that I need to catch up on.
True.
I also need to bring like a notepad or something so I can write down these things because I still haven't done that at all yet. But anyways, with that being said, thank you all. I love you and goodbye.